So this one comes from Vince Gotti. Sure. And Vince Gotti says he wants us, he saw our video about picking the perfect fight card for boxing to return on. And I definitely think this one's going to be much more up your alley because it is much more in line with your concept of fights that don't need to have a live audience. So he breaks it down from the prospect fight to the co-main event all the way up to the main event. So the prospect fight is...
He puts together a card.
Yes, he did. Shojahan Ergashev, 18-0, 16 knockouts versus Malik Hawkins, 18-0, 11 knockouts. So that's the prospect fight, which is really it's a good fight. It's a pretty good fight. I can't really, get on Vince too much. You can tell he knows what he's talking about. He's done his homework. Yeah, and so our next. Well,
I mean, I've seen these guys. I've seen Ergashev on. He's with Dimitri Salita. I've seen him on Showbox plenty. Yeah, haven't seen Hawkins as much.
I have seen Hawkins. I liked him. I definitely liked him. Has nice quick twitch athleticism. You don't know that necessarily yet until the level of competition steps up. Fight against Ergashev would absolutely be that. So
I mean, with all things considered, why are these guys fighting? This is what I would pose to Vince.
It might be a little early, right?
Why would they be fighting?
Because this is a make it. This is really a make it or take it, make it or break.
Unless it's a world title eliminator. Yeah. Or some regional belt to get you in the world ratings.
Right.
Why are you taking this risk against this competitive
level? Yeah.
Like I said, let's just say it's a great matchup. And let's say that there's a regional belt like the NABO, NABF, NABA, or something that's USBA, right? Yeah. One of those regional belts that now puts you in the top 15. But I believe both these guys are sort of either there or close to there anyway.
Yes, they got to be. It has to be. I know Ergashev is. So, right. All right, and the next one I think you'll really like.
Yes.
This one is Erickson Lubin against Dennis Hogan. I think
a little too much oil there.
Yeah, he definitely looks like
took the photo shoot to the next level.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to get on my producer for always picking the oily, muscular. For every picture we take. I don't see why we had to have that one. But
a little too much quarantine.
A little too much, I guess. So, but Erickson Lubin against Dennis Hogan is definitely a good fight, and it's very, very realistic. Did you obviously Dennis Hogan's your fighter? You managed Dennis Hogan, so
yeah. All right, you want my thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can still show you the signed contract for that fight.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it. I wanted you to say it. So
So we had a fully executed signed contract for those two to fight. And then we were then offered for Dennis to move up to middleweight to fight Jamal Charlo for the world title. And we took that fight. So we do have a guaranteed comeback fight with PBC. I thought Dennis did a good showing of himself at 60 against, maybe one of the top middleweights in the world, and made it a lot further than Lubin made it. Just saying, apples to apples. Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah.
But listen, let's just be real. Erickson Lubin is a top-notch fighter, definitely world champion caliber. I believe Dennis Hogan beat Jaime Munguia on April 13th a year ago. I was in the corner for that fight. I felt we got robbed. There's no secret there. We protested the WBO. We protested. Not one person that watched that fight scored it for Munguia. So Dennis should have been a world champion. The fight against Lubin was definitely, fans were starting to talk. There was definitely a lot of interest there. Look, it's a great fight. We'd still welcome it. I don't think we're going to get it. It was, by the way, going to be a WBC final eliminator, where the winner was going to be the mandatory for the WBC title. I definitely think Erickson Lubin's a great fighter. He's a Florida guy, very familiar with him.
He's a Florida man.
Florida man. think he learned from his loss. Kevin Cunningham trains him, great trainer. I think it'd be an excellent fight. It's two different styles. Yeah, two different styles. And listen, if Dennis proves something against Charlo, he can take a shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be an interesting fight, a very interesting test for Lubin, and a really, I would say, a position to kind of validate Dennis, because if Dennis can beat Erickson Lubin,
he's due to a world title shot again.
And I'm talking about even without the actual specific positioning. I'm just from the way people look at him.
Yeah.
You say, okay, you had a fight with Munguia that a lot of people feel that you won. Mm-hmm. You fought Charlo, that didn't work out.
At 60, you went up and fought at 60.
Right, but you turn around and you beat Lubin. Then now that makes that's a very solid string of fight there. So
and what I know that people don't know, which I'll fill you in now, is the last month of camp, Dennis spent in Florida in our training camp.
Right.
And you know who he was sparring 2 times a week, 12 rounds each sparring session? I'll let you tell him.
Who Dennis was starting? No, I don't know who.
Yeah, you know.
Amir?
Banana, Jason Rosario.
Oh, Jason Rosario. No. Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. So he was already conditioned, which we didn't realize until Rosario's destruction of Julian Williams.
And I think a lot of people learned a lot about Rosario that night.
Well, we knew he was heavy-handed because we were experiencing that in sparring.
Yeah.
And he was still heavy because he still had time out from his fight. So it was perfect because he was giving Dennis in hindsight. In hindsight, we're like, okay, Dennis was getting those big punches. He was getting conditioned because we didn't realize how hard Rosario hits because Dennis has a granite chin. Remember, Charlo didn't knock him out.
No.
He had him on.
I mean, he stopped.
He had him in. Yeah. He had him on the claps.
Yeah, I think a lot
out on his feet would be a good example.
It was just size. Like, he was hit by so much of a bigger man.
Sure.
That you know what? Because it was very similar, right? Tyson Fury didn't knock Deontay out, but that body shot and the way Deontay fell off of the force of the blow.
Right, but I would say this: Fury beat up Deontay.
Absolutely.
Dennis was fighting.
No, what I mean, I didn't mean that. I'm not comparing the overall developments of both fights and saying they were similar. I'm saying the impact of a bigger, stronger man's literally knocking a guy down with the force because of the size difference. I think that was.
I would compare Dennis's fight with Charlo to Kell Brook fighting Triple G. And Kell Brook still being able to go down and weight and be competitive.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Why not?
Because Kell Brook kind of wrote the blueprint on how to be more effective against Triple G. He just wasn't big enough to execute it. I don't think Dennis cracked any code with Charlo.
Right.
I feel like he was competitive, but he
didn't show a chink in the armor.
Yeah, and I think Kell Brook showed a little bit. It was like whoa, like he lit Golovkin up a couple times, and it was like, man, that was a bigger guy.
Right, I could have done something.
He could have done something.
Yeah, it might have opened the door for Danny Jacobs to wake up in the second half of their fight. That is,
I think he did, and I think it's the same way Paulie opened up the door for Maidana a bit.
Broner,
wanted the body with Broner.
So I'll leave it at this with that match. Yeah, I'd love to see that matchup. Al, we're still willing to do it. So what's the next one?
The next one, the final one, his main event is Alexander Usyk against Prince Charles Martin. Now, this might not be a fight that has everybody going, oh my God, but it's very appropriate. It's and I'm all for appropriate fights, even if they're not super exciting. Because when you make an appropriate fight, it sets up the super exciting fights. You need these fights to build up to the great fights. And the reason why I say this is appropriate is because Charles Martin is a former world champion. And no matter how much you disparage his IBF reign, he just won an eliminator over Gerald Washington. So he's done enough to put himself in this position. Alexander Usyk is an upcoming guy who everybody looks at as a future world champion at some point. It just makes sense for these two guys to meet on the way. So Is Charles? I mean, I'm pretty sure Alexander Usyk would be a massive favorite in this fight. I don't know what the odds would be, but I'm guessing minus 325, minus 315, something in that range, which is really pretty significant for a guy who has accomplished what Charles Martin has accomplished, and Usyk hasn't accomplished anything as a heavyweight yet. But I feel like it's just an appropriate fight.
It's a good fight. I mean, like you said, I mean, Martin earned his IBF mandatory standing to fight for the title again. It's going to be a while till he gets to do that. So they are going to probably put him in with another PBC fighter. So Usyk will never get that fight unless he was forced to, and he won't be forced to because he'll end up fighting in the matchroom. You know, he'll end up going through the matchroom path of heavyweights before he ever were to have an opportunity to fight Martin. But it would be a compelling fight because it would really help you understand where Usyk is in the scope of things. So yeah, from a matchup standpoint, good matchup, realistically happening, you know, probably zero chance, but definitely, you know, interesting enough to say, okay, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight because we're going to then get a really good idea. It's really not so much about Martin as it is so much about Usyk and understanding, like you said, where he fits in the overall scope of the heavyweight picture.
Yeah, because I feel like Martin's charge would be to make it about him. Because going into the fight, everybody's going to say this is about Usyk. Martin's
a big man.
He's a big man. And he's actually a pretty good athlete. And
Very good athlete.
He has some skills.
He has some pop.
Yeah, he does. So you never know. Like all it takes,
actually, it's a good matchup.
All it takes is one.